Lovely. Okay, now we're recording. Hey, happy May and happy new in colors. Which, you might not have been sure about them in the beginning. But I'm hoping by the time we're done today, you have found a way to love them in a way. So I'm also going to show you guys, I've got a couple of other in color cards. So I'm going to show you some other in color cards too as we go through, because I want you to see some other ways to use them, and thought we could do that too. So I don't remember how your package is, like, I don't remember what order I packed them in. We'll probably just tackle them in the random order that they are on my desk. So how does that sound?
That works for me.
Okay, good. This one's definitely the toughest, in terms of it's a fancy fold. But it's not hard in terms of like paper. So we're going to use, so in y'all's kits, I had this big piece and I actually pre-cut it for most people. I sliced it here and then I sliced it here and then I sliced it here just so it would fit into the mailing package. And then the other piece we're going to use is this one. Yeah, is this one. So that's really all you need is sort of the, unique situation of this one, which is an interesting piece of paper, and then this daisy piece. And then I'll show you some other cards that use some of the other pieces of the daisy paper. And so you can kind of, think about how you want to use it. So if you want to pull these two out, you can do that. And then if you want to cut it into its requisite pieces and get all the pieces you need, we're going to need the pink daisies. We're going to need this pretty peacock piece. We're going to need these two, the boho and then the copper clay and boho. And we're going to need this sky one, which I actually think for most of you guys, I actually already cut it because I wasn't sure if you had the die for it. So if you can't find it, it's because I tucked it in somewhere. So, I'm going to get my trimmer out, and this is just an interesting piece of paper. The back of it is that moody mauve, which doesn't really float my boat. So for me, I really wanted to use the front of this. And since everybody got a half a pack, everybody got one of these pieces, which is great. They are about 4 inches, the little pieces, the width pieces. So you can do 4 inches here. It's a little off, but we'll trim that off. And then you have to rotate it and line it up. And then again, 4 inches. I just kind of look to line it up on my little my cutting groove, so to speak. I think I need to trim a little bit of this. Little sliver. And then I need this one. And once we've kind of cut all of our pieces, then, we're ready to rock and we don't have to worry about this. This one also has a sliver or something I don't want. And that looks weird. I'm off my cutting game today. That's okay. All right, we definitely need this one and this one. We need this one. We don't need that. We don't need that. We need that. So this DSP pack was made to show off the new in colors, but they definitely added some new core colors in, like this is Bubble Bath and Pretty Peacock. And then this is Azure Afternoon. So there's definitely some other core colors that got added in, which I thought was interesting. So, okay, so this piece with the daisy is just 4x4. He's perfectly fine by himself. We don't need to do anything to him. So we can just set him aside because we're going to use him. This piece is, it should measure, I think it's just 4 by 5.25. Yeah. And so he's perfectly fine the way he is. And if you don't have him in your kit, it's because I took him and tucked him in with the card he goes with. So don't worry, he'll be there. This one is fine. We just need to cut, and I'm going to check my measurements on this one because I messed this up last time. So I'm going to make sure that I did this right. And color. Because I don't want to mess this up. Let's see. Double pass. All right. So this is 1.25, and I'm gonna like double, triple check them. Yeah, 1.25. So we're just gonna cut 1.25 off of the end of this, but that's all we're gonna do. So just however that's easiest for you. I think it's easier for me to do it this way. But we just need 1.25 cut off. So that's ready to go. And then the boho blue polka dotted one is, it's already 3 inches wide. So, or it's already 2 3/4 wide, which is great. And then we're going to cut it down to 3 inches. So just trim the long side to 3 inches. Now that's ready for us. And then this one, we're going to cut, it's 4 inches across, and we're going to cut it into 1-inch strips. So you can just cut a strip. Strip. And it might be a little shy of like perfect, but that's okay. Strip. And then these 3 of them, we're going to cut to 5. So you're just going to nip the end off of 3 of them because 3 of them are going to be cut to. No, not what I want. Okay. Scoring doesn't cut. And then we'll revisit these measurements when we come back to them too. So no big deal. And then this one, you're going to cut to 2 3/4. 2 3/4 by 5.25. I think I've got mine. No, I don't. So this is the one that has the copper clay background, and the back side of it is this fun kind of, I don't know, Pretty Peacock, maybe some sort of granny apple green situation. It's a pretty piece of paper.
Can you repeat those measurements again?
Yeah, for the copper clay one.
Yes.
Yeah, it's 2 3/4 by 5 1/4.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for speaking up. I just keep going, right? Until somebody says something. All right. So then hopefully, right, you've done all your cutting and you can put your cutter aside. If not, I mean, if something doesn't quite fit, you can always whip it back out and we can fix it. So I have 2 of these cards on which I messed up something on both of them, which is hilarious. So I made a sample when I was cutting and I cut something wrong. And then I taught this class in person last week and I cut something wrong. So I'm hoping I can get it right the third time's a charm. So mainly just some bad DSP cuts, but it's okay. So this is the Pebbled Path card. So you have a piece of cardstock that is the card base. And we're going to fold all of these pieces inward. And when we fold them inward, then we're able to see that it's going to create like a box-like shape here, right? So I'm going to keep one of them kind of tilted up, and then I'm going to keep one like this. So the way to make that square, the best way I've figured out is just to fold it flat. So, because this is how it would go inside your envelope, right? So for me, when we do glue it, that's going to be the best way to glue it, is just to like put some adhesive here and bring it over. So you're going to have 2 panels in the front and you're going to have 2 panels in the back, one of which you'll put glue in. But before we do that, we're going to put a piece of the designer series paper here. And then the other thing I'll point out, this card actually wasn't as hard to score as I thought it was going to be, because the little panel, the baby front panel and the back panel have the same score marks. The first and second score marks are the same. So if you have a scoreboard, right, and you have like, you just have your tick marks on there, you just do 1, 2, and on the big one, 1, 2, 3, 4. So all these score marks are on your PDF. But what's cool about it is the first 2 tick marks are the same for both the little piece and the big piece. So it actually wasn't as hard to prep as I thought it was going to be. I was like, oh, this is a monster, but it wasn't that bad. Okay. So in terms of DSP, we need our copper clay flowers, and then we need our little piece of boho polka dot. So this little piece we cut off is going to go on a front panel. So we're going to set it aside. This piece is going to be glued here, and we're just going to make sure we just leave a little border on the top and the right. So see how I don't have it shifted to the left. It's not up here, right? It's over here on the right. And that's what's going to give us, right, this panel here. Okay. So we're going to glue this on the right with some glue that I probably have some here. All right, here. Here's my glue. I wondered where he went. All right. So we're going to glue that down. Now I'm going to use tear and tape for my piece here. You could use Seal Plus. You can use the wet glue, but because it is going to take a bit of, it's going to take a bit of traction. I would say I'm better with a dry glue on this than a wet glue, but everybody's different. So you do you, but I'm just going to put a piece of tear and tape here. So this is on the tiny little 1/2-inch score line that we've got right here, right? And I'm just putting one little strip right there. And then I'm going to fold it over. And that's going to give me my box shape. Okay, so I had it folded over and it's going to give me my box shape. So I will say 3D cards are challenging for me. I try to do one, every month for us because I find them challenging. So I think it's a good challenge, but there are times when I'm challenged. This one is definitely like interesting. And then I'm going to take this other piece and I'm going to put it on this top little box. So that's going on our top box, right? So if we were to fold it this way, right, or this way, you would see that the side is not covered with DSP, just the front pieces. So I'm going to get some glue and do this. And that's what I messed up on one of mine. I cut it wrong. So this one, see how like I only cut it to 1 inch, and so it's like missing some DSP. No big deal, right? No one will notice. And this is a belated birthday card, so they'll just be happy they got a card, right? All right. So that's the base piece. And then you have a piece of white in your kit, and you're just going to put that on the back, which is nice because now you'll have a place to write. So you can just take this and glue this to the back. Because if not, you don't really have a place to write on this one, and that's a little awkward. All right. Cool. And then I think I'm missing that on one of my other ones too. I will catch up with all of my cards. I accidentally scored this one again. So this one has lots of mistakes. It's okay. Again, nobody will know, right? All right, good. Okay. So now we're going to add the front panel piece. So we've got our smaller panel and we've got our DSP. So we're going to fold these guys. So you can kind of play with them a little bit and you can start to see that if I keep this back panel flat, kind of like we did when we glued this one down, I can kind of see where this one's supposed to go, right? Because I want a border around here, right? And so I'm going to put a little bit of glue behind this panel, just on this side. And then I'm going to put some glue on this, again, this skinny strip. I'm going to use tear and tape again. One of the reasons I'm using it on video is because it's easier to see it. You can see where I'm putting glue. I also think it's really strong and good for projects that might take a hit in the mail, so, or with a person trying to open them. So again, I've just put a little bit of glue behind the left side of this and glue just on that one, that 1/2 inch folded piece. Then I'm going to get my card in here and I'm just going to lay it flat and kind of find the right place for it. And I think that's good. That's good. So then when I open it, now we can see we've got a double box, right? So now we see how that works. It's a pretty cool construction. It's very solid.
It is nice.
It is. It's a very solid card. Like this is a great card for the mantle. I think this is a wonderful, this is a card that can sit up and be there for quite some time. So I like it. All right. So we're going to put our little piece of DSP on the front, our little polka dots, our boho blue polka dots. And I'm going to smush it flat so that I can get a good press in here and make sure I get that adhered on all the sides. So, okay. And then we're going to do our sentiment, which I hope I have one, but maybe I don't. Maybe I need to go cut another one for myself. All right. So these are the tags from the Something Fancy dies. And I'm 97% sure that you have all the pieces you need. I just apparently don't have one of these. So this is the biggest tag die. And then what we did when we ran it with this little hole here, which is cute. You can do that with this one. It's like a little tulip shape, or you could do it with the leaves too. So these all kind of nest in here, and you can actually run it as one unit, like you can run the whole thing together. So I'm going to go run one because I need one. And I'll find some scrap white. They made it. This week. Mhm. We're gonna just no, that wasn't big enough. That was too scrappy. Too scrappy of a scrap. Okay. Good. Now we've got it. Okay, so we're going to use the marker to stamp technique for all of these cards. Which is nice because, if you're not sure about a color set and you're not sure you want to buy the stamp pads, then doing the marker to stamp gives you a chance to try the color out and say, well, okay, maybe I do like this color. So this one's a bigger sentiment. You could also do, so you could also, not with this paper, but you could orient this fold this way as well. So if you ever wanted to make the same card, but orient it because you need like a vertical situation instead of a horizontal, you could do that with this same card fold, and it'll stand up. I promise it stands up like that too. So just FYI. So just as a reminder, when you're doing the marker to stamp technique, you will want to make sure your stamp is clean. It works better with red rubber, but it can happen with photopolymer. And our new markers have a couple of improvements. So the brush is pretty much the same. But you can see, I think that the barrel is the same size, but the tip is a little bit like the marker cover is smaller. But this tip is the tip that's really changed. It used to be that really weird fine point tip, and now it's just it's like a more usable tip. You can actually write with it, which is really nice. Because it's a Stampin' Write marker. You're supposed to be able to write with it. But I felt like with the old one, you couldn't. So when I do the marker technique, I use the side of the brush. So I just kind of gently rub the side of the brush tip on my stamp. And, I might go over the areas a few times, but not too much. Because you can get kind of a weirdly chunky look too. So, and then you're gonna breathe on it. Have your hole to the left and try to stamp straight. And there we go. I didn't forget your birthday. I'm just stretching out the celebration. So Pebbled Path is a very, I think it's like pewter is kind of what I've decided. So it's a very pewtery looking color. And then you can take a piece of your jute that you guys got and put a little piece of boho in here. I think it's super cute. If you want to get the look that I have on this one, you put the two ends together and then you put the ends through together, and then you loop them through the loop. And that'll give you kind of the same look. So if you're wanting to the two ends together, loop them through the hole and then through the loop, kind of pull through. I call it the bookmark tie. Now this one's backwards, so I'm going to fix it because I think I was supposed to go through the back, not the front. This is the way I make ribbon ends on bookmarks as well.
Melissa,
Yeah.
I was rocking right along. Honestly, I was doing so well
Yeah.
until we got to the smaller piece
Yeah.
of the pebble. I put tear and tape on the smallest fold.
Strip. Yeah.
And then what?
And then, oh, you're doing great. And then a little tiny piece of tear and tape on the left-hand side of the big one. So right underneath here, because your small fold will go back here. See that little one back there? And then your big on the left-hand side of here, just a little strip of tear and tape.
Okay. Okay.
You're doing good.
Amazing.
I know, I'm glad. All right, I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of here. Maybe. I have to find it. Here they are. So I gave you guys a good arm's length, I don't know, a yard plus of the jute. I will say the jute has a mind of its own. And so convincing it to do things, you know, I feel like the jute might be in charge. You know, I don't know that we're in charge of the jute. You know how sometimes with ribbon, you can convince it to do stuff. I don't think you get that choice with this. It's pretty tightly wound. And so you get what you get on this one for sure. But it's okay. It's fine.
I don't know. I don't know if that's right or not. Okay, well, whatever. Talking to myself there a bit. Sorry.
No, I love it.
Back
It's
to
terrific.
mute.
No, I love it. It's how I craft too. So, you know, I appreciate that I'm not the only one who talks to themselves while crafting. So, I'm sure Jonathan's always like, are you like on a class with somebody? I'm like, no, just talking to myself. No big deal. And then I use the copper clay dots. So you got some of these dots that are the in color dots. I just gave you guys a couple strips because I don't use a ton of them. And I think they're nice, but I don't know that they're, you know, I don't know. They add something to a few of the projects, but I don't know that you need a ton of them. So you can put those on your project or not. Totally up to you. I'm going to use my little tool because that one's not coming up. It's funny. It just doesn't want to come up at all. Do what I tell you to do. Here. There we go. Maybe bending the plastic is helpful to get them off. All right. Okay, so the best version of this, I've only had to make it like 3 times, no big deal. And if you don't have this sentiment set, any sentiment will work, you know, but I like the fact that this tag is bigger, so it fits some of those bigger sentiments. Like sometimes I think our sentiment pieces are too small, and so they don't fit some of these longer sentiments. So this is a good one. And this is definitely the hardest card of all of them. There are some that are like super duper easy. So this is definitely the tough one. So all right, I'm going to clean my stamp. So even when you use the marker, so one, if you tend to over ink your stamps, the marker technique is a great way to not do that. So like if you're catching the edge of the stamp, you know, because you're pressing too hard and you're getting the halo or the edge, marker technique is a great way to avoid that because it's really hard to do that. But there still is a little bit of ink on here. So you do want to clean it. You know, I mean, it's not a lot of ink, but there's definitely a little bit of ink in there. So. Okay, good. Card number 1 done. Definitely the hardest one. So we did good. I'm proud of us. All right, here we go. So let me show you the other Pebble Path card. The Pebble Path also looks good with Pretty Peacock. So this is a card we're doing Monday at our stamp camp, and I know you guys aren't attending that, and that is a-okay. We have a great turnout. So, and a lot of people took it by mail. But I wanted to show you what Pebbled Path and Pretty Peacock look like together, because I think it's a really classy choice. And I think that this is when you can start to tell it looks like pewter. And then this stamp, we just did the marker technique. We did boho and wild wheat for the sun. And I think it turned out really cool. It's a fun card. So I wanted to show you that one because I think Pebble Path it's a good color. It's a good basic color. So, okay, next card we're going to do, what are we going to do next? Oh, we're going to do copper clay. Okay. So look for your copper clay pieces.
Melissa, I know you gave the dimensions on that to trim the pattern paper, and I was busy trying to catch up.
Yeah,
So
that's
what is-
okay. Which pattern paper, on the Pebble Path or the copper clay?
The copper clay with the daisies on it.
Yeah. It is 2 3/4 by, hold on, let me grab my handy dandy ancient wooden ruler, by 5 1/4. So 2 3/4 by 5 1/4. Oh yeah, and I'm missing a piece as well for this. So see, this is good. I forgot. So you have in your kit, you have the piece of the naturally gilded copper paper. You have the little sentiment label, and then you have a panel for the inside, and that inside panel is the same size as the outside panel. So if you ever want to make this card, it's actually pretty easy to remember those measurements. I, for some reason, don't have the inside panels. So I'm going to cut myself a 2 3/4 by 5 1/4 piece. Yeah. All right. When you glue the pieces down on the inside, I like to glue them so that there's a piece of cardstock in between. There's a panel. The reason we do that is so that we don't see the white, right, when we close the card. So just make sure you can't see the white inside panel when you close the card, okay? So this one goes together pretty easy. Find our glue. So I like to glue my inside panel in. And that's one reason to use Tombow, the wet glue, right? Because if you do mess up, you can kind of slide it in a little bit. Always handy to have second chances, right? And then the naturally gilded paper, you might not have noticed, or you might have gotten and you haven't opened it. It's totally possible. It was the online exclusive paper when we had those online exclusives like in March, and I hadn't played with it yet. And one of the reasons I hadn't played with it is that the top piece is gold with very vanilla, and I don't use very vanilla enough. And so I think I just kind of dismissed the whole pack. But there's a piece of copper that has white, and then there's also silver that is, there's two pieces, and there's silver and white, which actually could look really cool for like Halloween. I'm thinking like could be a spooky forest. I don't know. Like we'll see. You might see that come back. So, but I just hadn't paid attention to that paper, but I thought the real copper had a nice look with the copper clay paper. So that was my goal with this one. So you can glue that panel down, and then you're going to glue your daisies. All the daisy paper is directional. So definitely make sure you've got your daisies right side up and not upside down. If you're having a hard time telling, it's okay. There's like some slight stems on them that you can see kind of go down. But I found out all the sheets are directional because I was trying to use little bits and pieces and I couldn't because they were going sideways. So how does your daisy grow? Hopefully right side up. All right. So we're going to glue that daisy down on the front. And then if you are using the Something Fancy stamp set, both the happy birthday and the congratulations fit on this cute little panel. So if you need more of a congratulations card or you want it to be a little bit more generic, like a wedding or something, then you could do that. If you want to do, you need a happy birthday, then you can just do that. But we're going to use the same marker to stamp technique. And this is a really good stamp to use the marker technique on because it's tiny and it tends to rock and roll. And so, this is a perfect stamp for this. Let's see if I can stamp it straight this time. Who knows? Yeah, a little low, but straight at least. I'll make sure you clean it. All right, and then what I did with the twine on this one, because I did put some twine on here, is I took a piece and I've got kind of like this, and I'm gonna say it's probably not this much. Let's say it's maybe 5 inches or so. And I used, I think I used Seal Plus when I did it the first time. I don't even know if I think I went low on Seal Plus. I could try a glue dot. Seal Plus, wet glue won't work on this because the ribbon fights you too much. So I just put a glue dot on the back here. And then I told the ribbon, I said, look, I'm the boss and you should do what I tell you to do. I just got it to kind of turn in the way that I wanted it to turn. And I glued the centerpiece kind of where the two overlap with the glue dot. Then I put the dimensionals kind of on either side of it. But you want to make sure the dimensionals are more to the left, right? Because we don't want to seal our card shut. So we're going to kind of keep them over on this left-hand side, but kind of on either side of that little jute trim. So then when we glue it on our card, now he's kind of done what you want him to do. And if you don't like it and you don't like the way it looks, you could kind of manipulate it a little bit. You could trim it shorter. You could try to like rotate it. You could roll a glue dot down if you like if I want this one to stay down over here, I could take a glue dot and I could roll it into kind of like a skinny little piece of glue. And then I could say, you, my friend, are going to do what I tell you. And I could make it do that, which is nice. And that's not super sticky on the outside. So now that ribbon, that jute trim has kind of done what I want it to do, which is kind of sailed this way. I'm okay with this one kind of crossing over. Like, I think that looks cute, but it's definitely stubborn. Definitely. See, I told you the other card's much faster, much easier. I did a market last week and someone was like, why do you have so many extra cards? I was like, well, every time I teach, like I have at least 3, right? Because I have one card from when I teach, you know, my sample, my original sample. And then every time I teach, I make another one. And they were like, oh, I was like, yes. And I can't send that many cards. I can send a lot, but I can't send that many. All right. I do think this jute trim would be nice to like wrap a package with. I think it's a cute like wrapping trim. It would wrap nicely on boxes and stuff for sure. So, all right, so we're going to this one down. And I did not put any of the dots on here, the little in color dots, but if you wanted to, you could. I kind of felt like the gilded paper was probably fancy enough, but you know, sometimes less is more, sometimes more is more. That's up to you. There we go. Okay, so 1, 2. All right, we're well on our way. Look at us, we're doing it. All right, so the next card is the sympathy card. And this is the one that for most of you, I die cut this piece for you. But for a few of you, I did not. So I think, Carol, you'll have to die cut this piece out because you said you have this die. So I'll show you which one it is. So this is the boho blue card base, and it uses the smaller of these window dies. So there's 2 of them in the set, and it uses the smaller one. So what you'll want to do is you will want to get your piece of designer series paper, and I would recommend you just go ahead and glue it on the front. For everybody else, I didn't glue it on the front. I just put the 2 together and ran them through. So for those of you who are not Carol, you will just glue your pieces together. Carol will glue and then she'll die cut. So. But we're just going to glue it on the front. And then we're going to take our die cut, which is the smaller of these kind of window panels, and we're going to put it relatively, you know, relatively low in the clouds, right? I want it to kind of take a little piece of the wild wheat out. So, but you want to leave a little bit of the DSP on the right, and that's how you can make sure you're straight, is just by lining it up on the right. So I'm going to go run mine. And I only ran the bottom part through. I didn't run like the whole card through the machine. I kind of just like went in and then went back out. So that I didn't like mess up the texture of the whole card. It does do a little bit of a weird thing to the texture of the card, but anyway. Okay, so now you have a little panel piece and you can do with that whatever you want. But we're going to put our white piece on the inside and we're going to stamp it. If you are nervous to do that and you don't want to glue it down first, you could put it in here and you could stamp it. And then if it's really terrible, you could flip it, right? So for those of you who are nervous about stamping something that's glued down, I think this is a really good sympathy card. You could probably put a different sentiment in here too. It's a relatively long piece. So I think it's a good sympathy card. I also think the Grateful for the Everyday Magic of You actually fits in here really nicely as well. So you could do either one. I'm going to mix it up because I don't need that many sympathy cards. So I'm going to do the Everyday Magic one. And we're going to stamp it with the boho blue. That's pretty good. It's a little crooked, so I'll use my own strategy and I'll flip it. And we'll try again. Don't forget to re-ink before tries, between tries. Good thing I didn't glue that down, right? That's straighter. That's good. Much better. All right, so now I will glue it. And I think this is a nice sympathy card because it's simple. And I think sometimes sympathy cards, you know, it's hard to find the right tone for a sympathy card. And I think that, you know, simple, pretty, you know, something that's calming to look at, you know, I think is a nice look. And then for this one, we just added some of the boho blue dots. You could add some of the wild wheat ones if you wanted as well, but I liked the boho blue on this one for sure. There we go. We're 1, 2, 3 colors down, which is amazing. I saved the 2 most controversial colors for the end. So, okay, so let me show you the other ones. So Copper Clay, the card that we're making on Monday for the stamp camp, we used Copper Clay and Blueberry Bushel, and they're actually really fun friends. They make a really nice masculine card, I think. And we use the new exposed brick folder on this card. So yeah, Copper Clay and Blueberry Bushel, they're buddies. We like that. And then the boho one that we did. So this features the circle sayings, and this is the twisted rope. embossing folder. And then we have a piece of that Daisy DSP and a Misty Moonlight card base and the Misty Moonlight ribbon with some Pebble Path and boho seashells. And I thought that was a really nice one. So yeah, so fun colors. This is Azure Afternoon, so you can definitely tell it's a much brighter blue, but it looks nice on the boho, I think. So, all right. So I'm gonna rotate my cards. Got my, oops, my bucket. Sorry about that. Some coffee. Okay, so 2 cards left. Let's see what's next in my pile of magic. Oh dear. Okay, let's go wild wheat. All right, so wild wheat is the color that I wasn't sure about when we got it. I was very nervous. And I agreed. Someone said it looked like baby poo, and I might have agreed. But I like it now. So I've been treating it like we used to have an old color called Delightful Dijon. And if you just used a little bit, a little went a long way. It's kind of like Dijon mustard, right? You don't need a lot. So it's really nice as a base color. It partners really well when it's partnered with a dark color. So one of the Regals, Pretty Peacock, Blackberry Bliss. It looks really nice with black. And so it partners well when you partner it with a deep dark color. So I used the twisted rope embossing folder on this one because I wanted you guys to get a chance to feel the new embossing folders. And I used the exposed brick on another one. There is a debossed and an embossed side, and I'm going to hold this at an angle so you can see. I prefer it with the rope up. I prefer the one with the bow on it, the embossed side. But I did use the debossed side. I flipped it for the one on the left, and it looks cool too. So I think that they're just 2 different looks. So when we get to that part, just, you decide what looks better for you. And then I'm going to show you the inside of these cards. So this one, I used the extra panel on the right, and this one I had cut my panel, so I used it on the bottom. So you can decide, but you will have an extra 1-inch strip. And so you can decide if you want it to go on the bottom or you want it to go on the side. All right, so we have pieces. So we're going to put this guy over here. I'll deal with the inside later. I'm going to deal with the outside pieces. So remember I told you to cut 3 of the strips to 5 inches, right? So they're 1 inch by 5 inch. So they're going to fit on your panel, and you can kind of decide how you want to have them spaced out. How much space you want between them and how you want them to lay out. So we're going to glue these panel pieces down first on the Pretty Peacock. And that is, again, an advantage to using the wet glue, is that you have a chance to kind of line them the way you want to. It does mean they're going to have a little bit more space around them than you're used to, left and right. So I like to put the left panel down, then I put the right panel down, and then I do the middle one. It helps my spacing problems. Everything's a little crooked in our house, guys. I don't know if one of my eyes is off or what, but we hung up some curtains yesterday and they're totally crooked. It's fine. No one will notice. All right. And then the middle panel. And there's a lot going on top of this. So if they're a little bit off, it's a-okay. Don't worry. Because now we're going to glue the rope piece on top in the middle. And then we're going to glue the wild wheat piece in the middle of that. So we're just kind of building it up, right? And then we're just going to glue this whole piece to the card front. This is a very sturdy card, lots of layers. I like it though. So we've got wild wheat, you know, we've got this border of wild wheat. We've got a little bit of wild wheat here with the pretty peacock, and then we've got a little bit of wild wheat here. And I think when you do it like this, I think it's a really palatable color. So, all right. So then I'm going to have to decide what I want to do for my little panel. And I think I'm just going to I'll do the inside edge because then I don't have to think very hard. That's pretty good. Nice. All right. So then we have our little sentiment panel piece, and this is definitely made for this stamp set because there's a couple of stamps. May the good you do come back to you. We're going to use Nothing Fancy, Just Love on the next one, so you don't need to use it now. I don't think that this one fits the Here's to Beautiful Beginnings and Happily Ever Afters. It would like just barely fit. Thank You could fit as well. You could orient this card on the side and you could do You Matter. You know, this card could work either way. So I'm going to stick with what I've done before. I don't know if I clean this. We'll use our wild wheat marker. Yep, got a little fuzz there. Oh, okay. All good. You have to be careful that your whiteys aren't too fuzzy. All right. And then we're just going to pop this up with dimensionals, which I keep losing on my work surface. Here they are. That's funny. And then I added a little bow with a glue dot. And you can make it, you can make a bow. It is possible. You just have to tell it who's boss. So remember with twine, keep it nice and loose. Get the ends kind of the size that you want them. And then when you're ready, then you can tighten it up and then hopefully it won't twist too much on you. And then you can kind of take your ends and trim them. And hopefully they do what you want them to do. And you might have to come back in and like tighten them up again. I know for me, like, I never get it tight enough the first time. I'm gonna glue that. And so this one's kind of going, he's kind of curling a different way than the other one. I can make him do what I want him to do though. Stay. And you could glue it down if you really wanted to, just like we did with the other one. So. So your chance to manipulate the twine comes before you tighten it. And that's how you can get it to like kind of lay flat and do what you want it to do. There we go. Cut that one. See how it lays down. So that one's a little wild, but he's cute. So I have a very tame bow, a very wild bow. Boy, all right, look at that. We're doing great. All right, last one, Moody Mauve. Stamps back in here. All right, so this card has the Moody Mauve as the card base. It has this exposed brick embossing folder. And then it has this piece of designer series paper. And then we're going to stamp the hexagon. It's not an even hexagon. So there is kind of a longer side. And then there's like, I don't know, it's hard to see, but when you have the hexagon itself, you'll see that like you just need to keep rotating it until you think you've found the top and the bottom, and then these longer kind of sidebars. So it is, for me, it's pretty unidirectional. Either it's going to go this way or it's going to go this way. But if you try to do like this, you would see that it's off. See how this one's short? Put it on a dark surface. See how this one's shorter than this one? You can like see there's a short side and a long side. So I like the long sides to be my vertical lines, and I like the short sides to be coming together at the top and the bottom. So it's probably the toughest thing about this card is this weird little hexagon die. It is the only hexagon die that we have right now, and it's part of this set. So if that's a shape you're interested in, this is a good die set to have. I actually like the die set a lot. I think it's really nice. So this card actually comes together pretty easily. The only thing I did, and I didn't do it on both of them, but I did kind of cut the leaf. I did like a peekaboo kind of thing here on the inside. So if you do have the die set, you could do something like that. You could take either the little leaf shape, or you could even do the little flower shape, and you could cut the corner of the inside piece out. I didn't do it on everybody's because I don't know, I think it's kind of, there's definitely some personal choice in there. I will show you what it looks like with the flower though. So the flower, I think, I'm not sure I want the flower going down. I think that's a little weird. I think I want the flower going up. So I might do the flower like in an upper corner. So now I've got the little flower on me. So I did that on the inside. That's super, super not necessary and probably even extra for me, right? But you know, if you're feeling jazzy and you want to do it, great. And if you have the die set, if not, no big deal. I think the outside of this card's cute enough. I did find that I needed to put a glue dot kind of underneath the corner though. So just to hold it down. There we go. All right. So then the front just has the piece with the daisies on it and your exposed brick piece. And these two pieces just go, they're just butted up to each other and glued on the front. So they should just be one next to the other and you're just going to glue them down. So easy peasy. We did, we had a training a couple weeks ago and we found out that Stampin' Up! Considers the true color of a color not to be the ink, but to be the cardstock, which I thought was really interesting. So they start at the paper mill and they find the true color at the paper mill. And our paper mills are US based. And then they try to match the ink and the embellishments and everything else to the cardstock. So I thought that was really interesting. And I definitely didn't know that. And so, yeah, I thought that was a cool factoid. So, all right. So then we're going to stamp our sentiment. Nothing fancy, just love. And I didn't get a super good color on that one. So we're gonna try again. Oop. See if we did a better job. Better job. Excellent. And then I just put this up on a couple of dimensional. And I added the wild wheat dots because I liked it kind of brought out the yellow. This yellow is actually, I think it's crushed curry, which is interesting that they put both wild wheat and crushed curry on this pack. But I think the wild wheat dots look really cute with it. So nothing fancy, just love. And
Melissa, what's the name of the dots?
they are called the 2023-2025 in color dots.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
so
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I thought they were like something else. And I was like, dots. Huh. Okay. It's not super, normally they're like enamel dots or clear glass dots, or I don't know. They normally have a more descriptive name. So I thought that was really interesting. They were just dots. So, but they're very nice. And I think that they pick up the colors nicely. And I think they're really usable. I like that they're pretty low, right? They're flat, so they're not going to cause issues in the mail. They're not like the rhinestones that are going to poke through your envelope. So, yeah, I like them. I think they're nice. They're a good embellishment. So the twine, the jute, I guess. I mean, I think I'll come to like it and I'll use it, but the dots are really a nice addition. So we did it. We made 5 cards that I think are pretty darn great. And I think that they showcase the daisy paper well, but I think they also are, like they also show that you don't have to have daisies all the time. Like you can have other pieces. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed making them. Now that you've made them, which card which color have you changed your mind on? Like which color are you now like, okay, maybe I'm okay with this color.
The wild wheat with the pretty peacock looks really nice.
It does.
Mhm.
I agree. I agree. The wild wheat is better now that I know what I can partner it with for sure. Oh yeah, let me show you those other two cards. So this one, we did wild wheat with early espresso and very vanilla. And I thought that that was a really nice look. Like, I think that keeping it in the natural tones is really nice too. So I thought that was good. And then the other mauve card we did for this other class was mauve with Blackberry Bliss. And we used Blackberry Bliss ink and mauve ink. And I think it looks nice. I think that it's a good looking color when it's paired with something darker. And I think that's true for a couple of these. Like, I think if you pair it with a deeper, darker color, I think it looks nice. So I'll show you one other card I got because I thought this one was really cute. This one was what was sent to me by my upline last month. And I was like, whoa, wild wheat. That's a lot of wild wheat. But it's wild wheat with bubble bath and Blackberry Bliss and some of this shimmer paper. And I was like, oh, okay. All right, wild wheat, like I can handle you. So, there's definitely opportunities to change our mind on colors. This is not a color combo I would have made, but I thought it looked really good. So if you use it as a gold, I think if you use the Pebble Path like a pewter, so if you think about that, we have like a metallic, and a metallic, right? And then we've got a couple of like softer pinks and blues. I think we can come to work with these guys and come to love them. And I think they're going to probably make a pretty good appearance in the fall as well. So I'm going to stop the recording.
One more
but-
question.
Yeah. For sure.
The very first card, the hard card,
Yes.
there is no, okay, I'm still not done with it, but there is nothing on the back of the card. That's it right there. Oh, okay.
I just put the white panel on the back
Got it.
because I was like, you need a place to write,
Right,
So
right.
yeah. So I just put the white on the back. So
Okay, good deal.
yeah.